Hey guys, Dominic from VCM Performance, back here today with another informative video. Today we're going to be running through the VCM Performance OTR range, running from VT all the way up to VF. We're also going to be covering the VF V6 OTR as well. We get a lot of questions on the phone and online in regards to what suits what in terms of year model, etc. So we're going to run through all of that today, give the little nuances you may need to know. That way, when you go ahead and order your OTR, you have the confidence to grab the right one. So starting with our most popular model, it is the VE/VF plastic OTR. Now, all of these kits, whether it's VE, VF, MAF or MAFless, come with everything you need to fit. So that includes the two side fascia panels, the infill panel that you can see here, and whatever boots that you're going with, if it's MAF or MAFless. Same with the bracketry, any required wiring as well. It all comes together, so the kit that you buy, there's no extras you need for the VE/VF range. So starting with the MAF variation, you'll receive something like this in your package that comes with all the boots, clamps, any hoses required. It will look something like this. Now, the kit does not come with a MAF meter. You're going to use your factory one if you have a stock car. If you're going from MAFless to MAF, you may need to source one if you don't still have yours. I've just put this together today so you can see what it looks like. So that's the MAF kit. This is the most common. This is the one we typically recommend. The other option is the MAFless kit, which also comes in a bag like this. It'll come with its own hose, its own clamps, its own boots, and any sort of wiring that you need as well. So that'll look something like this. So obviously this goes from your intake into your throttle body. Everything else in the kit is the same. Fascia panels, infill panel. The actual OTR itself is the same. The only thing that is different is in between the intake and the throttle body. So you can go from MAF to MAFless and vice versa. We also sell these kits individually. So if you do have a MAF vehicle and you want to go MAFless, you can, and vice versa. We have those available on our website or over the phone. One very important thing to keep in mind is the bracketry required for your vehicle. So if you have a early VE, which we classify the brackets, so that is from its inception date in 2006 up until September 2011, you will require what is called an early VE kit. If you have anything from September 2011 and onwards, and that includes VF as well, you will require a late VE or a VF kit. This is very important. If you have an early VE and you get the late brackets, you won't be able to tilt your radiator and vice versa. So it is very important to know what car you have, obviously, and what year model as well. So when you do order, you want to make sure you get the right thing. So that's something very important to keep in mind, and it's something we can help out with too. If you need to give us a call and ask if you want to make sure we're able to assist you with that as well. If you are struggling to fit your OTR or you want to see how it's done before you purchase, if you head to our YouTube channel, we have quite a detailed description and instructional video on how to fit an OTR to your VE or VF model. One very common question we get asked in regards to our OTRs, not just this kit specifically, but all of them, is whether you can run these tuned or untuned. Now, in the case of the V8 one specifically, you can drive the car around untuned. It's not going to damage anything. It'll eventually, most likely, bring on an engine light from running a little bit too rich. But in terms of, I guess, damaging anything, that's not going to happen. Now, you're not going to get the expected performance gain out of this if you don't tune it. If you want to yield the best results with not just this OTR, but all of them, you want to match it up with the tune. Now, if you are in a remote area or you're fitting it yourself and you can't get to your tuner for a couple of weeks or whatever the case may be, you can put this on, you can drive it, it's not going to be a problem. As I mentioned, it might bring on an engine light for running a little bit rich, and naturally don't go thrashing the car around, but you can fit this and you can drive it around until you get it tuned, not a problem. Now, in regards to the filter and service intervals, the filter itself is a washable, reusable filter, so you do not have to throw it out every time you service it. You can simply pull it out, give it a clean using our K&N filter cleaner, give it a re-oil with the K&N oil as well, and fit it back to the OTR. Now, in regards to how often you should do that, we recommend between 2,000 and 5,000 kilometers. A lot of people tend to leave it to the vehicle service intervals, which in some cases can be 15,000 kilometers. We've found that it's just far too long. You'll probably find if you do leave it that long, you're going to pull your filter out and it's going to be full of rubbish. And in that case, it may be worth buying a new one. So if you stay up to date with it, every 2,000 to say 5,000 max, you stay up to date with your maintenance, you'll find that filter can last up to 10 years. So if you stay on top of it, you'll keep your performance up to scratch, your fuel economy up to scratch, and you can keep that filter for quite a long time. One last thing we thought we'd mention with the VE and VF V8 kit is particularly the VEs, they are getting a little bit older now. So things typically when they get old might not work as they should. So one of the major things we've come across over the past few years is in the VE models, if your car has been in an accident and for whatever reason needs the radiator support replaced, unfortunately the factory VE ones are no longer available and they are typically replaced with a VF model, which is not a problem, but in the VE kits, the factory radiator support has plastic tabs to lock your OTRs and fascia panels into. Now the VF one doesn't have that. So in the VF kits, they come with OTR bracket kits, which come factory in the VF kits, but in the VE kits, they don't. So if you have a car that's been in a front end accident and it is missing those tabs, even if it hasn't, they are getting old and brittle. They do tend to snap off. If they are missing those tabs, you can just jump on our website or give us a call and purchase the VF OTR bracket kit, and that'll fix your problem. Moving on to the next OTR is the VF V6 OTR. Now it is in the name, it only suits VF at this point in time, and it is only available in MAF. So much like the VE VF V8 kit, it does come with everything you need. That includes fascia panels and the infill panel. Now, the fascia panels are specific VF, so you can't have a VE and use the VE fascia panels. They must be VF panels. However, the infill is a universal panel, so that works right across the board. Now, down to the OTR itself, it does look very similar to the V8 model with a few little differences. The main thing to keep in mind with this kit is all the bracketry and wiring is V6 specific. So if you do have a V8 that you've pulled an OTR off and you want to try put it on your V6, it will not work. Brackets are not compatible. The actual unit itself is not compatible. So if you do want to run an OTR, you must purchase this kit. And much like the others, it comes with everything you need: panels, hoses, clamps, wiring, the whole lot. So at the moment, it is only for VF V6. You must keep that in mind. I have seen people try and fit them to VEs. What they've done to do that, I'm not too sure, but in our testing, we ran into some problems with clearance to the bonnet and all that sort of stuff. So at the moment, it is only for VF and only available in MAF. If you're struggling to fit your VF V6 OTR, you want to see how it's done before you buy it. They are a little bit more difficult than the V8 models. Head to our YouTube channel. We have quite a detailed instructional video on how to fit this kit from start to finish. Same with the V8 version. We get asked a lot, can you fit the V6 model without getting it tuned? Now, the answer to that one is a little bit grayer. It is, yes, you can fit this, you can drive it around. It's going to feel a lot slower if you don't have it tuned, I will be honest with you. If you want to yield the best results, you want to match this kit up specifically with a tune. Much like the V8 version, if you're fitting it yourself or you're getting it fit and you can't get it tuned for a couple of weeks, you can put it on, you can drive it around. It will probably bring up an engine light from running a bit too rich. It's going to feel a little bit doughy, but it will get you by until you get it tuned. Naturally, like any performance modification, you should really be getting it tuned when you fit this sort of stuff. But it is something we get asked all the time. You can fit it, you can drive it, but it does go best with a tune. So the filter in the VF V6 model is identical to the V8. So I won't run through absolutely everything again, but in terms of filter life and service intervals, it's washable, reusable, stay up to date with it. So every 2,000 to 5,000 kilometers, we recommend giving it a swap out. You can either have a spare one and swap them straight over or give yours a clean and put it straight back in. So try not to leave it too long. 10,000 to 15,000 as in the service intervals is just far too long for these things. So 2,000 to 5,000 is a sweet spot. Keep it clean and your car will be going good as ever. Moving on to the oldest OTRs in our range. This is the VT to VZ range. So as you can see in front of me, we have two variants. This one here is the plastic OTR. This comes in MAF or MAFless from VT right through to VZ. And on this side here is the alloy OTR. So this is only available in MAFless from VT to VZ. As you can see, there is a slight difference in the look and particularly the filter element. So a lot of people ask us, is there a difference in performance? As you can see, this filter is a little bit smaller or a lot smaller than this one. In terms of performance difference, there is practically zero, if any, in our testing anyway. So if you are looking to extract every bit of horsepower, it doesn't necessarily matter which one you go for. So focusing on the plastic model for now, like I said, this comes in MAFless or MAF. If you are going with a MAFless setup from VT to VY, You can, in most cases, use the factory IAT sensor and the factory loom to reach the OTR. We don't supply IAT sensor, MAFless patch, or extension harnesses with either of these kits, because some models you can use the factory stuff, some you cannot. So in this case specifically, VT to VY, in most cases you can reuse the factory IAT and the loom itself. If you have a VZ, that is a different story. So VZ will require a MAFless patch harness, it will require an IAT sensor. That's something we offer, no problems. So if you're talking to us on the phone, make sure you let us know you've got a VZ and we can hook you up with the right bits. If you're ordering online, obviously select the right car from the drop-down box. Moving on to the alloy OTR. This is, as I mentioned earlier, only available in MAFless, so VT to VZ obviously. So if you are looking for a MAF setup for your car, you'll have to go with the plastic option. Now, as I mentioned, only available in MAFless, same deal with the plastic, VT through to VY. In most cases, you can reuse the factory IAT or the loom. It really does depend on whoever built your loom back in the day, if it's long enough. If not, obviously we offer options for that to extend it. Now, if you have a VZ, much like the plastic, only available in MAFless, you'll have to use a patch harness and an IAT sensor. So if you are talking to us on the phone, let us know that you've got a VZ. A common question we get in regards to the VT to VZ range is fascia panels. Now, we don't make anything like the VE, VF models, unfortunately, but we do have, I guess, a recommendation for a lot of people. This is something I don't know if we came up with it, but we used to do back in the day in our workshop. So this is the factory radiator panel that you'll find on majority of those cars, if your car still has it. What we do is trim it out. This is a template we made, but we trim it out to suit whatever OTR you have. So this one was specifically cut out for alloy, but I'll show you the plastic as an example. It does give you that sort of OEM fascia panel kind of look. If you still have this and you're open to cutting it up, not everyone is, that is, I guess, kind of the only option at the moment that I know of, besides a full custom sort of fascia setup. But this is something I personally like, and it gives a very nice clean look. While these OTRs were designed for VT to VZ, it is actually very common to use these in retrofit LS swaps. So early Commodore, early Holden, I've even seen it in non-Holden cars as well. So if you have a old cruiser or whatever it is you're building with an LS and you're looking for an intake solution, this actually does go quite well. Obviously, in performance-wise, it's the best you can sort of go for over a sort of pod filter setup, but it does look a lot cleaner too. So if you have an old car that you're putting an LS into, you should consider these for your swap. Can you drive them untuned? Same thing, the answer is yes. MAF especially, you will get away with it. Much like the other versions, you're not going to yield the best results performance-wise if you go untuned. Naturally, you want to get it tuned, but much like the other kits, if you're going to fit it, you can't get it tuned for a few weeks. The MAF version especially, you'll be able to put it on, you'll be able to drive it, no problems. For the MAFless variants, that one is a little bit harder. In a lot of cases, you will find if you fit the MAFless kit, you probably won't be able to drive it, or you might have to 2-foot it because it wants to stall. So in that case, it is better to try and tune it as soon as possible. Yeah, we recommend heading straight to a tune shop or even getting it fitted there if you can. So MAFless is a little bit more difficult in the VT to VZ range. Now, one thing we do get asked a lot is the service intervals for the filters. So I don't have one in this one, but I do have one in here. As you can see, they are a washable, reusable filter. So you don't have to discard this every service, throw it out, buy a new one. That would be a waste of money. You can pull these out, you can wash them, you can re-oil them, and you can put them back in. Now, in regards to how often you should do that, we typically recommend between 2,000 to 5,000 Ks. A lot of people I see leave them for each service interval. Some intervals are 15,000 Ks, depending on what car you have. You don't want to be going to do that. So the filters will get caked up, you will drop performance, you will drop fuel economy, all that sort of stuff. So if you want to keep your OTR and engine running at the best it can, 2,000 to 5,000 Ks is what we recommend.